So I'm gonna move on to TV shows. So if you guys know anything about me, I really like crime dramas and like mob shows and shit like that. So for my villain, it was either gonna be Walter White or Tony Soprano. And I went with Tony Soprano because I felt like I know him a little bit better.
Okay.
Walter White would have been a great pick, but we'd be here for like 5 hours.
Man.
And I went with Tony Soprano because I think he's more evil in a lot of different ways. So basically, I'm going to assume you guys haven't seen The Sopranos. You might have. You might have. You probably haven't.
I haven't.
It is about a New Jersey mob family. And Tony has just become the boss, kind of, sort of, in the beginning of the season. Because his dad, Johnny Boy, was in the mob when he was a boy. And his mom was like pretty much a sociopath and stuff like that. So he's basically trying to navigate being a family guy and being the boss of the New Jersey crime syndicate. So he started having panic attacks because of all the stress in his life, and he started fainting. So in order to combat that, he started, at his wife's suggestion, he started seeing a therapist, which is bad for the mob. If the mob found out about this, they kill you because they have a code of silence called omerta. If you tell anybody about your mob business, you fucking one of the capital laws and shit like that. But he's seeing a therapist and stuff like that. And one of the major key points of the show is his therapy with Dr. Melfi and shit like that. And her trying to rehabilitate him and him telling her stories about some of the fucked up shit that's going on.
Right.
So like he's incredibly evil because he commits a lot of crimes and hurts a lot of people. Everything from like robbing people. He's a we call people that he's a loan shark.
Oh,
he gets addicted to gambling and stuff like that. He cheats on his wife constantly. He he's not super fair to his employees and stuff like that, if you want to call that what the rest of the mob is. And he even goes as far as like murdering some of the people that's closest to him.
That's
so like
best friend Stitch, though.
Yeah, so you're talking about Big Pussy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Big Pussy is a character who he grew up with Tony in the mob together. They call him Big Pussy, not because he's a bitch or nothing like that. It's because he specializes in cat burgling. There's a big pussy and there's a little pussy, but he's Big Pussy because he's pretty chubby. But he basically got popped for selling H, which is a thing that they weren't doing particularly in their crew. Tony in particular warned them not to deal H because you get so many years for doing that shit automatically. Like 20 automatically per whatever. So like Pussy got caught with enough H in distribution to go down for life. So he turned into an informant. And also because Tony had not trusted him because he would disappear and stuff like that because of those reasons. And he had like demoted him and stuff like that and put other people in his position. He like started to lose faith in him. So he became a mob informant, and Tony, through a bunch of fever dreams, discovered that he was an informant, brought him onto a boat, and him and the other captain shot him to death and dumped him off the boat and stuff like that. He also murdered his protege, Christopher. He had a protege that basically he groomed, named Christopher, and he fucked up a lot. He developed a drug problem and stuff like that, and they went through a lot of different things. I'm not going to go into their whole relationship, but it's kind of crazy. But like near the end of the season, they get into a car accident because Christopher's driving them and he's high on heroin and he crashes and stuff like that. In the crash, Tony kind of like, before they crash, Tony kind of notices. And after the crash, he like gets out of the car and he sees that a tree branch had gone through the window where his car seat was at. Christopher had a baby girl and he was like, damn, if his baby girl was in the car, he would have killed her. So he goes over there. Chris can't move. He's still in the driver's seat. He goes over and he holds his nose. And he can't breathe through his mouth already. And he suffocates him to death. And they chalk it up as a murder in the car. Not as a murder, but they chalk it up as him dying from the car accident. But he murdered his own protege on top of that.
That's some cold shit.
He also murdered his cousin, Tony B. Tony B had just came out of jail. There was a wave of crime coming out because a bunch of mobsters from back in the day just came out. So he felt like he owed his cousin. But his cousin had got back into the mob life slowly. And one of his best friends had got murdered in a mob beef. So he went and tried to assassinate the people that killed him, and he got one of them. Because the person who survived was Phil Leotardo, the person who was basically about to be the next head of the New York crime families. Crime Family. He put out a hit for Tony B, and he was pressuring Tony to do something about it because New York and New Jersey has a very unstable relationship at this point, and New York could basically wipe out New Jersey at any point. So basically, he was just like, "Nah, I ain't gonna give you my cousin," because he feels like if he gives up Tony B, they're going to torture him to death. He didn't want that for his cousin. So what does he do? Waits for his cousin to come home, comes from around the corner with some black gloves and a shotgun, and does it himself.
Damn.
Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano does not survive The Sopranos. He dies in the last episode, Black Screen.
Or does he?
So I'm going to talk about his greatest feat. It is the most evil shit of all time. One of his people that had died or whatever, he had been taking care of his wife, giving her money and stuff like that, because that's kind of mob code. But he had developed a really bad gambling addiction. And he was like, I don't know if I feel like I should pay this bitch or not. He's like, I don't really care. He was becoming really bad at that time. So he basically was at the races, and he had enough money to pay her what she needed to leave. And instead of paying her that money, he was like, I'll tell you what, I'll put her on this horse race. There's a horse over here named after my daughter. His daughter's name was Meadow, but I think that this horse was named Meadow something. So he put all the money on her, and he was like, I'm just going to double it. I'm going to be able to have enough money to pay her and a little something for myself. He loses. The Meadow horse comes second. Doesn't come in time.
Wow.
And he just says, fuck it. Fuck her. You know what happens after that? At the end of the story, he would not have got assassinated. He was at a restaurant with his family when he got assassinated, and the guy who killed him came out of the bathroom, and he was sitting in the booth where Meadow was going to be sitting. She got there late. Had Meadow came there in time, they would have called off the hit because they don't do family and stuff like that. So Meadow came in second.
Damn.
Meadow didn't make it in time. There's a metaphor for that episode back then. They were calling when he was about to die.
Still look forward to working with you, John. I mean that. You want a coffee? Well, I don't know.
Somebody's getting fucked. Get fucked. Somebody's getting fucked. Get fucked. Somebody's getting fucked. Somebody's getting fucked.